Hi, everyone. This is Natalie from Own My Health. And today I would like to speak to you about a concept of the invisible fence. And I'm sure some of you have heard of this and seen this, driving around either in some of your urban neighborhoods or even on some country roads, this idea of the invisible fence. I don't know if you've ever done this when you were younger, riding your bike and then suddenly having this dog running off their property and starting to chase after you. That's happened to me many times. And sometimes the dogs can be really cute or really vicious. In those situations, it's really scary because there isn't a fence protecting those dogs on their properties, and there isn't a fence there to protect you. So there actually has been the institution or the creation of this invisible fence that sometimes animal owners will put on their property so they don't have the distracting view or an ugly looking fence put on their property, while at the same time being able to protect their animals at their home. Now, what's really interesting about the electric fence is it does have an electrical current going through it. And if any of the animals, as they're being trained, gets close to or touches that fence as they're, trying to chase after something, a car or a person riding their bike, they will get a little bit of an electric buzz. And if you, remember the Maslow's experiment with the salivating dogs, that you can enable or condition an animal or a human to behave in a certain way by creating a trigger. And in this situation with the electric fence, the trigger is the electric shock. And every time the dog, for example, will walk into that fence or chase into it as they're running after something, that shock will remind them that they shouldn't do that. So it is almost like a negative feedback loop that encourages the dog, if you will, to stay on the property. Now, obviously, this electric fence has a great advantage because the dog owner can protect their animal. They also could protect themselves from not getting sued by somebody who's gotten bitten because they got chased down by the dog on their bike. And certainly it's the advantage of the dog so they don't get run over by a car. So there's lots of great reasons to create this trigger mechanism or this feedback loop, this negative feedback loop, if you will, using the electric fence. Now, the reason I wanted to bring up the electric fence is that we, as humans, can create our own electric fences. And this can be a good thing, but a lot of times it actually can be a bad thing. And the reason being is that from younger years, we, through conditioned responses of some of the things that have been set up in our lives, either through rules and regulations that have been set up by our parents, where we're not allowed to stay up really late past 9 p.m., or we'll get in trouble, or if we skip school, and there's repercussions for that. So there's all these parameters. And as we get older, we go into university or college or even high school, we're conditioned that we have to study for exams because the repercussion or the electric fence, if you will, is or the shock factor is that you'll fail an exam and you can't do that. So the electric fence in those situations is that you have to behave in a certain way so that you can make it through life. And as we get older, we've created other things for ourselves where, you don't say anything out of context out of work in case you stand out, or you don't offend anybody, or, in case they say things about you and sort of create a bad impression for you with your reputation in the office. Or you don't end up contradicting anything within group meetings in case you look like a renegade or somebody who is going against the flow. And so we've created these electric fences by watching what has happened to other people, or even ourselves being burned by the electric fence or getting that shock. So it actually shocks us into the property or the boundaries or the parameters about our behaviors. So what we can and can't do when we step out of the line or the fence versus staying within it. Now, what's really interesting about that electric fence is it is actually created in our mind. It's a mental shift. It's a belief system. And a lot of times that electric fence actually exists. And many times, and oftentimes, that electric fence does not exist. It is just a mental construct. And even when that electric fence breaks down or is dismantled or replaced with something completely different, we still see or act as if that electric fence still exists. And so it's really through conditioned responses, etc., that we've set up that boundary and those riverbanks of behavior that we can act. And so one of the things I really encourage everybody to consider today is taking a few moments to reflect on if you have or are acting in any ways with the belief that there is some sort of an electric fence around you. Is there something that you really wish you could be doing? A dream that you have, an aspiration, something that you've really been striving for, but just believe that you can't do it. Because there is some sort of a mental construct, some sort of a prison that you've created for yourself that you don't believe that you can get out of, or that you actually believe still exists in your reality. So take a few minutes today to think about your invisible fence and see if you can take some steps today to take that fence down so that you can actually go beyond, step beyond the fence and do something ludicrous, crazy, dreamlike, something that you can take some massive action on that you've always just aspired to do and never felt you could because you've been bounded by this electric fence. So enjoy and have a great day.